good afternoon, everybody. I am Dr. Sun. I am a senior lecturer at University of Science Malaysia. Thank you for all for joining us in this forum today. And I know that today is a Sunday, and I'm very delighted to see that everyone here willingly to allocate your weekend time to attend this online forum with us. Thank you so much. And as you all have already noticed from the title of our forum today, we are going to discuss and share on this important topic, which is on leadership, and which I find that it is very timely to discuss in today's Malaysian context. As we all aware that Malaysia and even the world have gone through the turbulence of many crises, whether politically, economically, and socially. And during the pandemic period, even though the pandemic period has sort of relaxed, but still we are facing many more challenges ahead of us, especially in the coming years, 2024, 2025. Here, how then can we face these challenges? How a countries or a societies face these future challenges that is ahead of us. So we think that in this forum, a good qualities of leadership is very important. So this is why we organize this forum with all of you. So in Malaysia, so what can we expect from our new government under the Prime Minister's Dato Sri Anwar Ibrahim? I'm sure some of us have doubts on his administration and his leadership. Some of us are also supportive of the Prime Ministers. But the purpose of this forum today is not to paint a specific picture of a personality, but rather we open a platform actually for every one of us to discuss this essence of a good leadership in building a better societies and in changing people's livelihood to a better one, which I am actually very hopeful that our Prime Minister, Dato Sri Anwar Ibrahim, can make such change. So as such, my two students, both of them are actually from our neighboring country, Singapore, who are very keen to know about the new climate in Malaysia. And then they discussed with me on this matter. So they are Eileen and Josephine. This is how I address them, And they both are currently my students doing their master's studies at University of Science Malaysia. And actually, I'm very happy that they have started this discussion, and they are actually very keen in here to also share with us their views and their experiences. Before I invite both of them to speak first in this forum, just allow me to briefly explain to you that this forum is in the fashion of a sharing forum. Therefore, everybody is invited. You are most welcome to share your views in between our sections. Okay. And our discussions as well. And let's be free and casual and easy in this sharing forum, okay? And so also that this forum will mainly in two languages. One is English and both English and Mandarin. But if you are comfortable with Bahasa Malaysia, you're most welcome to speak in Bahasa Melayu as well. So without further ado, so let me first invite Josephine at first, and then Eileen to give their views on this forum. Okay, so Josephine, you may start first.
Thank you, Dr. Sun. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Josephine. I'm currently working in Singapore while studying for a Master of Communication at University Sains Malaysia. I'm glad to have met Dr. Sun, which he gives me the opportunity to attend this forum, and I'm delighted to be here today.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Eileen. I'm a Singaporean who is currently a political science master student in USM. I would also like to thank Dr. Soon for inviting me to this forum, as this topic is actually very relevant to me, since I'm actually currently working on this topic related to what extent a nation leader actually affects a nation. Since young, I have actually always been interested in this topic, as growing up, almost every school holiday, my parents would actually plan educational overseas trips for my brother and I to actually broaden our knowledge. So in these trips, we will actually visit museums to learn about the history, talk to local guides to know about the nation. So gradually, I began to enjoy learning about culture and governance. Then after all the traveling, I actually now really appreciate Singapore. Well, many actually complain that Singapore is very small, does not have much activities to do. But I actually love living in Singapore mainly because of how safe it is. And I always feel very proud to let people know that I am a Singaporean when I'm overseas, because of how I feel that our government is actually very effective. In fact, actually Singapore came in like third around the world and also first in Asia in a global ranking that actually tracks the effectiveness of government. It is actually the only Asian country in this Chandelian Good Government Index. And in this top 10, right, actually most of it was dominated by European countries, such as like Finland in the first place and Switzerland in the second place. So I feel that this is actually mainly thanks to Singapore having capable leaders since independence. So Prime Minister Lee Kuan Yew was the first Prime Minister in Singapore who served from 1959 to 1990. And he actually is credited for transforming Singapore from a poor, newly independent nation to now like a prosperous, developed country. And Prime Minister Goh Chok Tong then continued to serve as the Prime Minister from 1990 to 2004. And he continued the economic and social policies of the Prime Minister Lee Kuan Yew. And Prime Minister Goh Chok Tong sought the development of Singapore's infrastructure, and he's more known for like the public housing in Singapore. And now our current and the third Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong, he has been Prime Minister since 2004, and he continued these policies of his predecessor and also introduced new initiative, which is now the most well-known one is actually the Smart Nation Initiative. So I really believe that a good leadership is very important in determining the nation's fate.
Agree with Eileen. Actually, taking a recent example as COVID-19 pandemic as an example, I'm actually very impressed by how the Singapore government tackled the crisis. COVID-19 in every country was a crucial question, but with some of the key trade-offs in its crisis management process, Singapore was actually ranked first in Bloomberg's COVID-19 resilience ranking. So some policies that they implemented include like national lockdown, which actually this was not considered a real solution, but a stopgap measure for protecting the healthcare system. The viable solution was the cautious reopening with phased periods of heightened alert. Also, the government developed an effective contact tracing app, Trace Together. I believe some of us may be familiar with that. And another example is like prioritizing the testing of patients with flu-like symptoms, refitted large buildings and other venues to act as community isolation centers. And finally, Singapore's government and the Prime Minister, Lee Hsien Loong, communicated with its people effectively and frequently. Personally, I feel that this is a very important point to me because COVID-19, it's an unexpected situation. So constant updates from the government for me is very crucial. I would like to know what is happening right now and how this COVID impacts my life. So then later on, I discovered that actually other countries imitated these implementations, which kind of like proved that, these are viable solutions. So during the post-pandemic, or I'll say endemic stage, I'll say life isn't as different as predicted, But the government still makes some big and small changes. For example, the growing privilege of the telehealth, which offers greater convenience, improved access to care, cost savings. The government also promote a healthy lifestyle, encourage us to, to get yourself out there in the nature. They also emphasize on mental well-being, transition to digital payments, cashless society, and the idea of remote working, just to name a few. So I see the agility, flexibility, and relevance built into the government workforce. But as a Singaporean, of course, I will question, so what's next? What do I expect for the next 10 to 20 years in Singapore? So recently, the government had revealed the Vision 2030 plan, which this plan cuts across all sectors of society, ranging from infrastructural development, research and innovation, to training programs. Singapore is actually looking to create a much greener, a more sustainable future over the next decade. It is actually quite motivating how the government aims to get the whole nation together as it seeks, to transition into a more sustainable future, to build back better as we recover from the economic fallout of COVID-19. So I'm actually very excited to see how Singapore will grow into an even stronger nation. And I'll say I'm very proud of what the government has done thus far for us. So with today's topic, maybe I'll start off with my definition of good quality leadership. Or I'll say the leaders that I came across with have some common qualities that I would like to share here, which are like good leaders possess self-awareness, garner credibility, focus on relationship building, being agile and flexible, stay authentic, present themselves as constant and consistent. I have always wanted to know more about my surrounding. So as a master's student at USM, besides just studying and writing thesis, I also enjoy discussing news affairs with family and friends. And one thing that cannot be missed nowadays is the topic of the new Malaysian government, led by Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim. Singapore and Malaysia are considered, I'll say, BFF, best friends forever. We have a very close relationship with Malaysia. Not only are we just close friends, but also neighbors. Both countries are bound by geography and shared history. We have deep family and cultural ties, especially when Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim visited Singapore this year. The talk between the two countries seemed very positive, with news headlines saying Anwar's unity government write a new chapter for Malaysia-Singapore relations. And if I remember correctly, there are headlines like both countries are looking to produce win-win outcomes with benefits for their people and businesses. So this excites us to see what the new leader will bring in. I actually understand that there are already some changes in the governance of Malaysia, and I can't wait to listen and learn more about it from this forum. So thank you.
Yeah, same as Josephine. After I became a student in Malaysia, I started to follow up on the Malaysian news, especially on those regarding the leadership of the Malaysia leaders. So far, actually, many of the articles that I came across were actually complimenting the Malaysian new government being more united than before. So I read that actually Sultan Ibrahim, the 25th Sultan of Johor, and his son Tunku Mahkota of Johor, Tunku Ismail, actually they support Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim. So I have always known that both Sultan Ibrahim, Sultan Iskandar, and Tunku Ismail have been very vocal supporters of democracy and good governance. They spoke up many times against corruption, and they even called for reforms to be made to the Malaysian political system. So they have actually, they met with Anwar Ibrahim, Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim for a number of occasions, and they actually expressed their support for Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim's political career. So Tunku Ismail has also met with Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim. He also pledged to support Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim to actually reform the Malaysian political system. So I believe with support, Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim will be the leader that will be more effectively able to lead the government, Malaysian government. Just like the Singapore Prime Ministers, this Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim is able to bring Malaysia to a greater heights. So I really look forward to hear everyone's views on leadership. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much to Josephine and Eileen for your personal experiences and sharing on Singapore experiences. That was very interesting and very insightful. Yes, we indeed need a good leader who is inclusive and with vision to lead the countries to move forward, and who is also full of energy and capability to help countries such as Malaysia in today's to become a better place. Allow me to share with you a verse in Chinese, and then later on I will roughly translate into English. Okay. 修身齐家，治国平天下。通过对万事万物的认识研究，才能获得知识。获得知识后，意念才能真诚。意念真诚后，心思才能端正。心思端正后，才能修养品性。品性修养后，才能管理好家庭家族。家庭家族管理好了，才能治理好国家。治理好国家后，天下才能太平。I find this verse very fit to our forum today. So let me roughly translate in English. It goes in this. The knowledge can be acquired only through the understandings and research of everything. Only after acquiring knowledge can one's mind be sincere. Only after one's mind is sincere and can one's mind be correct. When one's mind is well and correct, one can manage the family well. Then subsequently, one can manage well and to govern the countries well. The world can be peaceful and only after the countries is governed well. So these qualities of knowledge, 知识, sincerity, 真诚, correct thought, 端正心思, a good character building, 修养品性, are important qualities in leadership. So in the beginning of my forum, I mentioned that I am hopeful to our Prime Minister's Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim. This is because I see some of the qualities above that resonate in him. So allow me to briefly explain to you his background, because his background actually shaped who he is today. So a person's characters are shaped by their childhood. So when Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim attended the Malay College in Kuala Kangsar, it was a prestigious school established by the British to train young Malays for government service. So during his time, Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim observed that on the outskirts of the school, there were others not as fortunate as him or his classmates to have access to education, especially local Malays who are many of them very impoverished, who had not benefited from life under the British rule. So these sentiments felt in his youth would be the starting point of a lifetime spent in Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim's political struggles. So during our Prime Minister's Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim's time in the University of Malaya in Kuala Lumpur, he began his advocacies for Malay communities, harnessing his growing leadership skills. So it was here that Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim began to believe Islam could offer solutions for the social and political challenges faced by the Malays. So Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim's leadership actually continued to grow from his involvement in the then BN-led government as Deputy and Finance Ministers to become the leader for the multi-ethnic and multiracial based Keadilan Party and Pakatan Harapan coalitions. So during his early political career in the 1960s, Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim said that he supported affirmative action policies for Malays due to his concern about the dominance of Malaysian Chinese businesses. But this later on changed his views. So in 2019, he called for transitioning to affirmative actions policies being premised on the needs instead of based on race. And those living in poverty can receive government support regardless of their race. So this aspect of Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim, his leadership can be seen in his position when he became the Prime Minister in 2022. So in a recent interview with Al Jazeera News on its 101 East program, Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim says that poverty is poverty, and that he will target poverty issues by profiling not according to race, but to their earnings. So thus far, Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim is one of the few, if not the only, leaders in Malaysia with top position that who is pushing for these directions. So I can see that there is a future in Malaysia. So yeah, before that, anyone would like to share their view before I continue?
Good afternoon, everyone.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. Thank you. Yeah, please go ahead.
My name is Amy. I'm from Penang. I'm actually working as a HR manager in a multinational company here. I would like to share one of the attraction that I had to our new Prime Minister. One of his very good point that I see that and I respect that. Okay, unlike all his predecessors, so in December 2022, he took over as our Prime Minister and our Finance Minister. So the first thing that he mentioned, even before he was elected as the appointed as the Prime Minister, he said that he would not take salary as a Prime Minister and the Finance Minister. This is to show solidarity with the people because he felt that they are struggling with the rising cost of living. So in addition to that, knowing that people's perception towards politicians have been tainted, he would like to strengthen the faith of the people who assume all politicians are the same and are only interested in enriching themselves. So to me, this is leading by example. So continuing from what Dr. Sun has mentioned just now, he actually put poverty as his main agenda. I mean, curbing poverty as his main agenda. So I think he is actually walking his talk here. So besides him, the whole cabinet actually has agreed to a reduction of 20% of their salary. So this is to help our country to go back to our economy stability. So in that case, I really see that he is someone that is leading by example. Okay, not only that, he emphasized that he and his immediate family would not take or will not receive any government projects in his tenure as Prime Minister. Okay, resulting from this, Malaysia Kini actually reported that our government actually saved an estimated of 100,000 a month from Datuk Seri's gesture alone, not including the saving from his cabinet. So this will amount to more than 1.2 million a year. Okay, besides salary, he is also rejecting one of his benefit in kind, that is the brand new Mercedes-Benz S600 limousine that was purchased by the Prime Minister Department for Datuk Seri's appointment. He agreed that and emphasized that he will be using whatever existing vehicles that they have in the office for his daily use. Okay, so that is a good news, and to me it's a very good gesture as well. But of course, every move or so-called strategy comes with comments. there are also other comments that states that is our nation not rich enough to pay him? Yeah, that is the question that some people have. And they think that this is a blessed nation and we are rich enough to pay them a decent salary for the job because they are doing the job, and these commenters feel that everybody who's doing the job have to be paid. So they are actually questioning, if you're not taking salary, are you delivering performance? So to their mind, their performance may be shortchanged. So is this the case? I think we will need to give them more time, or give Dato Sri more time to perform himself as well as his cabinet. Yeah, that's all comment from me, Dr. Sun.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Anyone else? Before I continue, if you want, you can join in as you wish. Yeah, this is a sharing forum.
Hi, Dr. Sun.
Hi,
Yeah.
hi. Yes.
I'm Alice here. I'm actually from Kuala Lumpur, and I would like to share some of the points here with you. Yeah, I actually completely agree with what Amy has expressed about the importance of a leader, okay, setting up a good example in order to improve a country, especially for Dr. Sri Anwar Ibrahim, right? But I think, because this principle is also applies to parenting, okay? Because as good parents, we should not only focus on the physical well-being and the growth of our children, but also prioritize their mental and emotional development, okay? So I think that this is very important, yeah, to bring up kids, especially on their emotional, apart from the health work, okay? And this can be, I think that this can be achieved through loving and supportive care, effective communications, and being positive and models. Yeah, the role model, positive role models from the parents, yeah, to the kids. And parenting leaders who cultivate good communication habits and instill strong moral values in their children can greatly contribute to their ability to express themselves and understand others effectively. So by doing so, then we can ensure our children can grow with more discipline, kind, okay, and well prepared to the challenges that they may face in future. And this is actually can be related to our Prime Minister, Yang Muhammad Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim, where he actually embodied this principle as he assumed his duty, yeah, as his duty as a prime minister, just like what Amy just now stated, that he actually don't take the salary, but he focused on the people, the unity of the people, yeah. So as a parenting leaders, I think that we shape our children's future, okay. The future is very important. So what the Prime Minister is doing is the same. This is also important, whereby he's trying to shape our nation to our nation's destiny. Yeah, so that he's actually leading by example. Yeah, inspiring unity, progress, and the prosperity for our country and the people. So this is what we can see since he's taken up the job as a Prime Minister, right? So I mean, this is just some of my points here. Thank you, yeah, for your attention.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Anyone before I continue?
Dr. 孙好，我是瑞荣，来自马来西亚槟城。我想分享，我以华语分享。我想分享的是，在身为父母的我想分享，我看到是在好的领导者的领导之下，然后国家的发展慢慢的计划会越来越广大。除此之外，国家繁荣，它在另外接下来的方面会带来更好的外资的进入。由此可见的话，在各个领域上都会的在向上。 尤其是读书界啦，身为父母的我们还是重视未来的主人公，因为读书界的提升、学校老师的教导，还有我们父母反映在这个我们的榜样学习，都把孩子教导到孩子的身上，就是家庭的教育的很重要，不停歇给予孩子良善的教育的重要性，自然而然他们就会建立更优素质的未来。无论在体力、智力、活力上，各个的这个发展，就是家庭的父母就是把孩子教导下去，然后他们会培育好更好的下一代，过后他们展望更好的未来咯。所以我想分享的就是这个领域上，我会看到这个接下来会慢慢的发展，然后教育界也一定要再提升，然后孩子可以立足在这个社会上，很稳定、很安稳的生活，前程更加光明，然后迈向更美好的未来。然后既来之则安之。谢谢。
Thank you so much. Thank you very much for your all. This is a very valuable sharing with us. And I think from the sharing, after listening to your sharings, and I actually can see that a leadership is like a management, yeah, and it's like managing an organization with a compassion, you know, the values of compassion, and also commitment, which is akin to like a love for our children, you know, like, you know, our mothers have said just now. So it's like a family, yeah. Yeah, I mean, indeed, I think management is actually an important quality in a good leader. And it just recall me that I actually used to read some materials on entrepreneurship. Even though I'm a political scientist, so I also read something on entrepreneurship. And I remember that one of the significant criteria in organization behavior and planning is to have a leader, you know, which is like the managers, the employers or the firms, and so on and so forth. Yeah, and that person has to have to be someone who actually with a vision, and also energy, you know, positive energies, and of course innovation, and then a commitment in, you know, in their companies. Knowing, you know, how the world is working, and so on and so forth. Yeah. Yeah, this actually also bring me back to these recognitions of the commitment on our Prime Minister Dato Sri Anwar Ibrahim when he was a finance minister. Yeah. I mean, during his time in the 80s, our economy has been actually growing very, very well. And then our Finance Minister Dato Sri Anwar Ibrahim actually made a great impact on that. With this, you can also dig out some of the records. Dato Sri Anwar Ibrahim's performance in managing the country's economy has actually earned him many recognitions from the world. There are these world medias, which are very prestigious medias, like Euromoney. And Euromoney is an English language monthly magazine, which is an important magazine that talks about trade, finance of the world. People will go there and then read to get some information. And he was named as a top 4 finance ministers in 1996. And another magazine, which is called Asia Money, is a division of from this Euromoney international investors group. Named Dato Sri Anwar Ibrahim as a Finance Minister of the Year. And in 1998, this is slightly after a year of our economic crisis in 1997, a Newsweek magazine, also a very prestigious magazine. I'm not sure whether it is still around, you know. So 新闻周刊, yeah. I'm sure some of you are familiar with these magazines. Named Dato Sri Anwar Ibrahim the Asian of the Year. You know, yeah, so 亚洲年度人物. Yeah, so I find that his recognition, you know, has been quite abundant. Yeah, so I believe that maybe some of you may have others view on this. Sorry, 我可以讲中文。有谁想要分享吗？还是你们有这一些
谢谢 Dr. 顺。
好，可以。
我是来自台湾的周明慧。我曾听说过一个最务实的说法，对一个好的领导人，是能让大部分的人民过上衣食无忧的日子。我也很认同这种观点。其实政治和经济是分不开的。我出生在台湾，台湾不大，资源也很有限。我要分享一个台湾号称我们台湾的护国神山，的一个台积电公司。也许有人知道，也许有人不知道，但是它是我们科技领域一家全球市占率第一的半导体制造商，也是全亚洲市值第一的公司。他的创办人是一个叫张忠谋先生，他曾经担任台积电的董事长，现在已经退休了。在四面环海、资源有限的台湾小岛，如何能做到世界的第一，实属不易。主要是张忠谋先生很有远见。最开始张忠谋先生出现这个想法，因为我认为半导体在未来世界会无所不在，只是因为这个想法而坚持下来，而成就了这个科技王国。在1985年，应我们台湾当时的行政院长孙运璇的邀请，来台湾担任工业研究所的院长，那也兼任了联华电子的董事长。在1987年，因缘际会就创办了这个台积电公司，然后兼任了董事长兼执行长。据张忠谋先生当年透露，他发展代工模式的时候，还曾经邀请英特尔入股，但是英特尔始终坚持 IDM， 没有获得重视。那当时的台湾政府呢，也投注了55亿，占了他们的股份的 48%。当时其实连同英特尔都不重视。如果那时候我们的政府领导人没有远见，就会丧失了一个很大的商机。所以张忠谋先生很感谢当时的领导人李国鼎先生。所以在30年前，政治领导人也是要有足够的远见，才能带动100年后台湾的整体经济。逐渐政治人物领导人的领导力是要很全面的。这是我今天的分享，谢谢大家。
谢谢你 ，Thank you so much.
Hello, Dr. Su.
Hi, 你好。
Hi, good day to you.
Hi.
I'm Dr. Chia from Kuala Lumpur with a background in the scientific research industry. And I would like to share my thoughts on how leadership in Malaysia plays an important role in the country's R&D. So in the first quarter of the year 2023, the World Bank found that only 10.5% of Malaysian firms were involved in the research and development in the last 3 years. And overall, the Malaysian firms involved in R&D are still pretty low. The number of new products introduced during the period was also at a low level of 3.5%, according to the Economy Minister Encik Rafizi Ramli. And Malaysia is also lagging in terms of local patent applications, which are a sign of innovation compared to other competitors. It is essential for the government political leader to recognize the importance of the scientific research and development as a driver of economic and also social good progress. By fostering an environment that values and supports the scientific inquiry, a country can position itself at the forefront of innovation and reap the benefits of scientific advancements. And a good leader possesses a clear vision for the future of the country and strategic thinking abilities. This enables them to identify the importance of R&D as a driver of progress and economic growth. And they can set long-term goals, formulate effective policies, and allocate resources to foster the R&D activities. A leader who values collaboration can promote partnerships between academia, industry, and government bodies. These collaborations can lead to knowledge exchange, technology transfer, joint research projects, as well as drive innovation, attract talent, and stimulate economic growth through the technological advancements. By fostering a collaborative environment, leaders can enhance the effectiveness of the R&D efforts and also to bridge the gap between the academia and industry. On the other hand, a lack of political support or unstable political situations can hinder the progress of scientific research and development. Insufficient funding, inconsistent policies, and a lack of long-term planning can hamper the growth of the research institutions, discourage scientists from pursuing their work, and limit opportunities for collaborations and knowledge exchange. Effective leaders encourage innovations and also entrepreneurship by creating an ecosystem that rewards and supports risk-taking. They can establish incubators, innovation hubs, and also funding programs that foster an entrepreneurial culture. By doing so, leaders can attract talent, retain the innovators, as well as facilitate the translation of research findings into practical applications. So these qualities collectively contribute to a supportive and conducive environment for R&D, enabling a country to harness the potential of scientific advancements. And moving forward, we hope that Malaysia can position itself at the forefront innovation, driving economic growth, and also addressing societal challenges effectively. And that's all I'm sharing for today. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much, Dr. Chia, for sharing. May I ask you a question regarding this R&D? Sure. Because this R&D industry is in Malaysia context is considered quite new. I mean, it's not really new, but it's considered quite new if comparing to other countries, especially with our neighbor country, Singapore. I mean, from your own expertise, how would you see this new government, perhaps can move forward this R&D, or it remains the same? Do you see any changes?
Well, in my opinion, I'm actually positive that the new government is currently heading towards the right directions. And of course, it takes some time. And I'm actually looking forward to a future where Malaysia stands as the beacon of scientific advancements, technological innovation, and also a sustainable development. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. It's quite good to hear that. I recently saw a video clip about the science and technologies, and our new Minister of Science and Technology, he was actually quite concerned that our people, the rakyat, actually, because of science and technology in the development, it takes 10 to 5 years to see the result. They are actually doing so much reform now, so, but the result cannot be seen, in the near future. So the interviews are a bit, that shows that he's concerned, as that people may see that science and technology is not developing. Well, I mean, yeah, which is understandable because this one is it takes a long-term research and development. Well, thank you very much for your sharing. Yeah, is there anyone else would like to share before I continue?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm KEC, currently working as an engineer in Penang. To add on to what Ms. Ming Hui has spoken, Malaysia, in particular Penang, has a long-standing relationship with Taiwan on foreign investment, especially in the electronics industry. Coincidentally, Penang is also the hometown of our Prime Minister, Dato' Sri Anwar Ibrahim. If we look back at the history, Inventec is an early investor in Penang, and it actually has groomed a team of highly skilled printed circuit board designers, where some of them are the pioneers of the different multiple PCB design companies in Malaysia now. They are also my friends. ASE, headquartered in Taiwan, is one of the world's largest provider of semiconductor packaging manufacturing and test services, and they are also expanding in Penang recently. Personally, I observed the unity government under the leadership of Dato' Sri Anwar Ibrahim recognizes the importance of semiconductor industry in Malaysia. In this year's Semicon Southeast Asia Expo at Penang, which happened just last month, there are more than 280 exhibiting companies from 17 countries all around the world. It's more than just the Malaysian companies expo. It's actually a global exhibition already. In an unprecedented scene, Malaysia Deputy Prime Minister Dato' Sri Dr. Ahmad Zahid Hamidi was at the stage together with Penang Chief Minister YB Chow Kuan Yew to launch the event, which showed the strong support from both Malaysia federal government and also state government on the semiconductor industry advancement. In the same event, the unity government has also boosted its great ambition in the industry, targeting to capture 15% of the world's semiconductor market by 2030. It is observed that the government is focusing on both the hardware infrastructure setup and also human capital training. Looking around us, the Batu Kawan Industry Park is quickly filled up with investment, and government are focusing now on upgrading the new technology park in Kulim, Glen Maria, and Bagan Datuk with 5G connectivity. By the way, the government is not doing this in silo. They are combining forces with industry big names like Intel and Ericsson to upgrade the nation's 5G infrastructure. The government is also on top of the technical vocational education and training, which aims to bring skilled workforce to the industry. The government human resource development arm, HRD Corp, has recently launched the HR 5.0 campaign. All these initiatives show the effort and determination of the government under Dato Sri Anwar Ibrahim to improve the nation's economies and people's income to the next level. I'm excited with what the government can bring to the country. Thank you. Now I pass back to the host.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Kishi, for sharing this very detailed information on the industry. I myself don't have this information that detailed. Yeah, it's quite relieving to hear that this current government is working seriously on this manner. Yeah. Oh, thank you for sharing. Anyone else before I continue? Yeah.
好，我是佩青。
OK， 好，
我想要以教育的角度来出发。
可以啊，可以，好。
OK， 大家好，我是佩青，我是在槟城当中学老师。我想说的就是，现今的政府对于教育都有着很开明的态度。那么多年，我观察到是，尤其是中学毕业生，他们很关心的一件事就是大学的升学的事情。然后最近的高等教育部长宣布的新政策，让我对首相带领团结的政府刮目相看。首先，最近高教宣布了 B40家庭的首位进入大学读书的孩子将会获得免学费的福利。这对于低收入家庭无疑是一个天大的好消息，因为这降低了贫穷家庭供养孩子读大学的经济压力。我看到的是现在的政府实践以人为本的教育方针，这个是非常值得鼓励的。从我执教以来，我都不敢忘记为人师表的本分。这是什么呢？就是为人师表应该要有教无类，对待每一位学生，无论是男女还是贫富，都必须一视同仁。其实去年我教的一位学生患上了忧郁症，他有几个月没有来上学。身为级任老师的我，每次都会打电话关心他，也和他的家人有密切的联系，也会给他家人和他一些中肯的意见。渐渐的，这位学生好转了，也开始来上学。我每次都会关心他的进展和提醒班上的同学要多关心和鼓励他。最后，他也成功考完 SBM。这个星期四成绩放榜的时候，他还考到意想不到的成绩。他和爸爸也谢谢我从来没有放弃过他。其实我想说的就是，老师对孩子的影响是很重要的。就以我自己也是孩子的妈妈，就是我的孩子是雨欣，在他身上也是很明显。雨欣因为他的英文不好，考试也不及格，还好是很庆幸的是，他最近遇到一个英语补习老师。这个老师看到雨欣的英文的不足，主动就建议他跟第一年级的学生一起上课。所以雨欣在那里是参5年级班和6年级班的，而老师也很好，只是收他6年级的学费。 在这位老师 Teacher Jenny 的教导之下，雨欣的英文也考到了60多分，同时他也愿意用英语和别人沟通。从这里我也了解到老师的领导是多么的重要。除此之外，我想要分享就是我的同事 Mushi Sewa 的录音。Mushi Sewa 是一位资深的老师，他有着27年的教学经验。Mushi 是什么意思呢？就是教育部给的一个尊称，代表是一个语文专家。但是很可惜的是 ，Mushi Sewa 因为今天有活动在身，无法出席，所以以下是他对于今天的课题的分享。我会Josephine 请播录音。
Salam Malaysia Madani, saya Mushi Sewa dari SMJK Porte, seorang guru yang telah mengajar bahasa Melayu dan pendidikan moral selama 27 tahun. Pada hari ini, saya diberikan tajuk Forum Kepemimpinan di Malaysia. Saya ingin mengupas dan mengulas forum ini dari perspektif pendidikan. Baiklah. Di sini kita melihat sekolah sebagai satu institusi yang memainkan peranan yang sangat signifikan dalam memupuk budaya kepemimpinan. Misi Kementerian Pendidikan Malaysia jelas menyatakan bahawa pelestarian sistem pendidikan yang berkualiti untuk membangunkan potensi individu bagi memenuhi aspirasi negara. Apakah aspirasi negara? Jelas, aspirasi negara ini adalah untuk membina, membentuk seorang pemimpin yang berkaliber yang mampu untuk memacu negara menjadi sebuah negara di peringkat dunia. Sehubungan dengan itu, Kementerian Pendidikan Malaysia telah merancang pelbagai dasar untuk memastikan misi ini mencapai matlamatnya. Salah satu daripadanya ialah Pelan Pembangunan Pendidikan Malaysia PPPM 2013 hingga 2025. Dalam Pelan Pembangunan Pendidikan ini telah meletakkan 11 anjakan. Salah satu daripadanya ialah aspek kepemimpinan. Hal ini jelas menunjukkan Kementerian Pendidikan Malaysia sentiasa memberikan penekanan untuk membentuk seorang pemimpin pada masa hadapan. Pepatah Melayu jelas ada mengungkapkan bahawa pemuda harapan negara, pemudi tiang negara. Untuk menjadi seorang pemimpin yang berkaliber, yang boleh menjadi pemandu, yang boleh memacu negara ini menjadi negara maju, negara yang disegani di peringkat dunia. Kata orang tua-tua, berdiri sama tinggi, duduk sama rendah. Aspek jantina tidak memainkan peranan penting. Generasi muda sama ada lelaki atau perempuan bersama-sama dibentuk untuk menjadi seorang pemimpin pada masa hadapan. Hal ini bermakna anak-anak muda perlu dilatih untuk memegang tampuk pemerintahan sebagai seorang pemimpin. Kita perlu sedar dan akui bahawa hakikat yang perlu kita akui di sini ialah pemimpin datang dan pergi. Generasi muda akan menggantikan generasi lama. Dalam mencapai misi masa depan ini, sekolah sentiasa proaktif untuk mengenal pasti bakat anak-anak murid. Kata pujangga tua, kalau kita mahu batu permata itu berkilau, ukiran dan potongannya mestilah dibuat dengan berhati-hati. Bakat kepemimpinan yang terpendam ini perlu dicungkil dengan pelbagai pertandingan dan aktiviti agar murid-murid ini dapat mengenali potensi dirinya. Tidak dinafikan, era pandemik COVID-19 telah mengubah lanskap pendidikan Dalam pelbagai kekangan terdapat juga pelbagai kebaikannya. Kali pertama kita mendengar pendidikan hybrid. Metodologi ini telah menjadi satu platform untuk murid mengasah bakat mereka dalam sesuatu bidang. Teknologi maklumat dan komunikasi ini atau TMK telah membawa rahmat kepada institusi pendidikan seiring dengan revolusi industri 4.0. Jadi jelaslah di sini sesebuah institusi memerlukan pemimpin berkaliber untuk mengetuai hala tuju masa depan. Seperti yang saya katakan tadi, pemimpin datang dan pergi, maka cabaran dalam memastikan kepemimpinan yang dinamik, berprestasi tinggi serta sempurna ilmunya turut menjadi tanggungjawab institusi pendidikan. Pentadbir sumber manusia harus bekerjasama dengan pengurusan atasan untuk memastikan pelbagai program ini dibuat untuk mencongkil bakat-bakat pemimpin muda pada hari ini. Mutakhir ini lebih banyak peluang diberikan kepada pemimpin terutamanya golongan wanita yang berbakat. Ini perkembangan yang luar biasa kerana walaupun sibuk dengan urusan rumah tangga dan mengurus anak-anak, golongan wanita ini masih mampu untuk menjadi seorang pemimpin negara dan juga pemimpin organisasi. Maka potensi pemimpin ini tidak harus kita tolak ke tepi. Sebaliknya kita harus ketengahkan pemimpin-pemimpin yang seperti ini. Ironinya, pemimpin lama dan pemimpin muda hari ini merupakan golongan yang menjadi aset kepada sesebuah negara. Tidak ada di negara dunia ini yang tidak ada pemimpin. Kalau kita ambil kedudukan geografi mana-mana negara di dunia ini, pemimpin sentiasa akan bertukar ganti. Saya berpendapat di sini, institusi pendidikan memainkan peranan yang sangat penting untuk membentuk kredibiliti dalam diri seseorang untuk menjadi pemimpin yang berjaya. Saya berpendapat inilah pendapat saya yang boleh diketengahkan dalam forum ini. Sekian, terima kasih.
谢谢木须水沃的分享。其实我想说是，这位老师他表达教育对于国家下一代的重要性。这位老师有说到，好的教育机制将会培养好的新一代领袖。希望马来西亚的政府对教育的重视，可以让马来西亚的孩子可以在世界舞台上和其他的国家的人平起平坐，发光发热。谢谢，我分享完了，交给主持人。
Thank you very much. 谢谢。Thank you for the recording as well. Yeah.
Hi, Dr. Sun 好，大家好，我是 Grace， 可以听到吗？
可以，来你说。
身为母亲，我觉得好的国家必须有一位好的领导者，一位优秀的领导者必须是有正见、真思维和有一颗慈爱的心，这样他才可以造福大众。我赞同以上两位所表达的。一个国家必须有好的教育机制和好的引导者，这样它才能孕育出有素质的新一代。身为母亲，我希望我的孩子可以在一个没有种族歧视、男女平等、和蔼平安的国家生活。谢谢。
谢谢你的分享。Yeah, thank you very much. Let me continue, yeah, and then later on I can open up the floor for you all to participate again, yeah. Thank you so much, from all of your very insightful personal views, based on your own backgrounds and your personal experiences with us. I'm actually learning a lot from you all, regarding from a different perspectives about leadership. Just let me briefly translate to you what this Mr. Munshi Sivalingam talked about, which I managed to note down. He actually talked about leadership is very important in education, and this is regardless of gender. And he also talks about schools as an institution plays a very important role, especially in identifying talents, through schools activities. And so in his view, leadership needs to be shaped and needs to be cultivated through activities, so that from there, students or pupils can realize, where their potentials are. So he talks about this hybrid education, and which is on ITs and communication. And he also links this to our the current industry, which is we are now entering into this revolution industry 4.0, which is pretty much industry that is based on IT and technologies. And then he emphasized a lot on that leadership comes and go, and then so the way I understand him is that so we need continuity. So when one leader goes and another leader comes, how do we cultivate that? So it is actually through schools, education institution that continues to work on creating or maybe excavating a caliber of the students' potentials. And he also touched on women's role in leadership. I would like to actually share a little bit on this women's in leadership. I'm not the expert, but I find that after all the discussions and your sharing of views, I find that leadership is actually it's not coming from a vacuum. Sorry, before I go to women's, so I find that from what Ms. Minghui talks about Taiwan's experiences with a leader that has a vision, to develop these industries, and of course, continued by Dr. Chia's R&D's experiences as well, and Mr. KEC. A leader with a vision is certainly important, and to guarantee a well-being of the countries. So I find that at schools, at the high school level, I always tell my students that, even though we are learning politics in Malaysia, but all this information should be, started from high school, And so I find that schools, especially public schools, are very important. So leadership needs to be cultivated, especially from a younger age. And we also find that our mothers, like Mrs. Tong Hui, Mrs. Grace, and Mrs. Xu Zhong, has actually, expressed their hopes, for future generations. Back to these women's issues. I actually
Dr. Sun, 对不起，我想打岔一下。我完全同意你刚才结论的，我只是因为刚才那个文旭老师他是语言老师，所以他里面他分享了一些很优美的马来文的句子。尤其一个我想要分享的就是他用马来文来说的意思就是玉不琢不成器，然后他是一直在强调着这个领导者需要的就是需要被培育嘛，所以那个教育和老师的重要性，所以这个真的是玉不琢不成器，然后真的是很感谢所有的老师，刚才也有分享老师啊、家长，比如Alice 分享的这个教育者需要很用心的去看每个人的内在的素质，再去把它雕成玉，所以这个我觉得是想要跟大家分享的。好，谢谢你。对不起，打岔了。
不会，谢谢你的分享。好的。Okay, sorry. Go back to women's. This is just additional information for you all to share with you all. Perhaps some of you might already know. The current government. Okay, in Dato's our Prime Minister Dato Sri Anwar's current government's current cabinet. Actually, we have there are about 23.6% of his cabinets line up are women, and which is compared to the previous administration in 2018, which was only 15%. But I mean, some people are also saying that this has not reached to their target at a mark of 30%. So there are more to be improved. But interestingly, this current cabinet lined up, they were at least, we have 5 women's ministers, but there were 3 ministries, important ministry actually, which conventionally were reserved to male and are now held by women's ministers. One of them is education ministers, and another one is health ministers, and another one is law and institutional reform ministers. So these are very important 3 ministers. Of course, the other 2 are youth and sports, and another one is a women's family and community development. I'm not saying that these are not important ministries, they are, but they were also they were also been held by women before. So just extra information for you. Another one is that, but historically in Malaysia, women's actually, there has never been more than 5 women or 5 ministries that were served by women, But this cabinet, we have seen 5 lah. So hopefully, we can improve further. All right. So this is inside information to share with you. All right. Let me continue. I also find that another good quality of leaders is someone with knowledge. Okay, just now the verse that I talk about, your knowledge is very important. And of course, knowledge is someone who will shape a person's intellectual capability to observe the world affairs, beside domestic affairs, but also to world affairs as well, the events that is happening around us. So who actually understands the working of how the global affairs, are taking place, which especially in this current era, the challenges is much more than during our parents' times. Yeah. So this again, reminds me of Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim's recognition from all over the world. I mean, he actually had friends as well around the world. And this, if I remember correctly, upon his release from the prison in 2004, he didn't join government directly because of his imprisonment situation, but he actually involved himself in teaching, and non-profit work. For instance, he served as a visiting fellow and senior associate members in Oxford universities, and of course he was also a distinguished senior visiting fellows at Johns Hopkins universities in United States. In 2005 and 6, he was a visiting professor at the School of Foreign Services at Georgetown University. So these are prestigious universities. And in March, he was appointed as a honorary president of a London-based organization, which is called Accountabilities. With this, I find that a good leadership is not only who are able to communicate with within their own countries, but also with the world. Someone who actually knows how the world is working. Yeah. Here I actually also discussed with one of my friends, and we are actually very delighted, to have a friend from Australia. She's Malaysian, but she's now living in Australia, who perhaps can give us a different perspective, from Australia's about leadership. Maybe of course, she's willing to share with us her insights. We also have our friends from Taiwan. Now we can listen to from Australia. Please, Miss Kim Ling.
Good afternoon, Dr. Sun. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes.
Good afternoon, Dr. Sun, Eileen, Josephine, and everyone who takes time to participate in this critical and exciting forum about leadership in Malaysia. My name is Kim, and I'm a Malaysian who has been working in Australia for the last 20 years. In my healthcare career, I've always been active in governance and board leadership position, advocating for equity. And as a Malaysian living overseas, I'm still closely interested in Malaysia politics and policies. Today, I want to share my opinion about why having a good foreign policy is one of the qualities of a successful country leader. A good foreign policy is essential for several reasons, which include protecting the country's security, helping to promote the country's economic interest. By negotiating trade deals and other agreements with other countries, a country can open up new markets for its goods and services and can also gain access to resources that it needs. And thirdly, an excellent foreign policy can help to promote the country's, for example, the Malaysia's values and idea. Dr. Sri Anwar Ibrahim is a seasoned politician with a long history of involvement in foreign policy. He is a pragmatist, and when it comes to foreign policy, he's willing to work with countries that have different political and economic systems. He has vision, and he is actually a very skilled negotiator and diplomat, as well as has a proven track record of building relationships with foreign leaders. This can be seen clearly as since Dr. Sri Anwar Ibrahim became Prime Minister of Malaysia in November 2022. His foreign policy has been focused on strengthening ties with Malaysia's neighbors and allies, promoting trade and investment, and resolving regional disputes. So Dato' Ibrahim has visited several countries in his first few months in office, including China, Japan, and plans to visit the United States. He has also hosted visits from foreign leaders, including Chinese President Xi Jinping and Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida. So, and under Dato' Ibrahim's leadership, Malaysia has signed several trade and investment agreements with other countries. Like, for example, in January 2023, we signed a free trade agreement with China. In March 2023, a memorandum of understanding with Japan on economic cooperations. And all these MOUs are expected to benefit trade and investment, as well as promote the cooperation in AI, robotics, and renewable energies. And it also leads to the exchange of expertise, like, for example, students and professionals, and help stronger ties between the countries. In terms of the financial foreign policy, it is actually a critical leadership skill because it promotes the economic growth and the stability of the country, especially when Dato' Anwar Ibrahim took power in Malaysia, the economy was a bit weak, and this has been seen as a boost. So I think it's actually a very good move for the first few months he taking the office. Dato' Anwar Ibrahim has also been quite active in trying to resolve regional dispute. I think in February this year, he met with the Philippine president to discuss the South China Sea dispute. And in March, he met with the Indonesian president to discuss about a border maritime issue between Malaysia and Indonesia. And Dato' Ibrahim's foreign policy with Indonesia, one of our closest neighbors, has been well received by Indonesian officials and analysts, and are seen as a positive development for both countries. This move can improve the trade and investment between the two countries, as well as, I guess it's very important, a closer security cooperations that help to reduce the tension in the South China Sea. In terms of when we come to the ASEAN, Dato' Anwar Ibrahim has always been a vocal advocate for strengthening ties between ASEAN and other regional countries. He has called for greater cooperations in trade, investment, and security. And the Madani concept by Dato' Anwar Ibrahim would elevate and make into one of the essential ASEAN influence-seeking mechanism and build the ASEAN framework in the concept of value-based growth and people-centered approach in building the nations and the policy making in ASEAN, in my opinion. So I see Dato' Anwar Ibrahim has the potential to be a strong and effective leader for Malaysia. His foreign policy agenda is ambition, but it is achievable in my opinion. And if he is successful, he can help to make Malaysia a prosperous, equitable, and inclusive country. So I am very much hopeful and hope that he will succeed. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Ms. Kim Ling, for this very insightful sharing with us. And yeah, about how Anwar Ibrahim's diplomatic relations. The way I see it is that this current government is actually at work, meaning to say that, I mean, for the past 2-3 years, we haven't seen any performance, from the government. Yeah. So at least now we are slowly seeing that the government is actually working, yeah, which it is supposed to work. Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much. All right. So perhaps I would like to also we have another friend, Mr. Yo, who also very eager to share with us his view, but unfortunately he cannot attend because he has work on Sunday. So can we share his recordings here, Josephine? All right, thank you.
Yeah, sure. Wait, let me see.
Dr. 孙以及线上的各位嘉宾，大家下午好，我是 Mr. Yo， 来自柔佛。自疫情之后，已经看到整个世界的秩序已经产生了极大的变化，而整个世界在经过这病毒的肆虐的一番之后，无论是在经济上、健康的意识上，还有包括整个政治的大环境，也都产生了极大的变化。在这段时间，相信大家也看到许多国家，如美国、英国、澳洲、欧洲、日本、韩国等国家的首领与政府都变换极大。就如大马而言，在这一群期间，前后竟在短短的时间内，可以出现了3次政府的替换，相信也破了大马有史以来的纪录。由于病毒，几乎所有的国家之经济都受到相当大的冲击，而陷入经济的困境。现今的大马也换了新的政府来管理，而现任首相安华也成立了一个称为团结政府，希望借全民团结一致的力量，共同的面对当前的困境。而身为国民的一份子，相信现今的首相安华能够引领全民共同努力，创造一个全新的马来西亚，突破协助大马成功晋级成为发达的国家之一。相信在现今的首相采取更加开明治理国家的策略，以各种新的措施，以积极的与各国保持友好的关系，来制造一个更好的一个投资环境，即吸引更多的外资前来投资，为大马人制造更多的就业机会，并提高收入，改善人民生活的品质。身为一个普通的一个国民，相信基本上的要求也不高，希望呢，如今有一个开明且保持公平的新政府来对待全民，帮助全民人人都能安居乐业，创造一个美好的马来西亚，更美好的一个居住环境的国家。新政府只要在坚持做对的事，采取对的策略，毕竟大马是一个资源非常丰富与资源非常均衡的一个国家，只要继续的加油，加倍的努力，成功一定是属于全民的。首相安华与所有的内阁成员，大家一起加油，引领大马成为一个先进的国家。马来西亚，我爱你，我更爱我的国家。 谢谢大家。
Thank you. Thank you.
Dr. Sun, can I want to actually, after hearing everyone's thoughts on the importance of having a good leader to actually ensure the success of the nation, I think I have a poem that will nicely summarize what qualities a leader needs to have in order to be considered a good leader and what our hope for a good future will be. So this is a loving kindness poem. So here's how it goes. One who is skilled in doing good must work to be efficient, right, perfectly upright, obedient, gentle, and humble, contented, easily supportable, not a burden to others, with few duties, simple in livelihood, control in senses, discreet, not imprudent. So one should not commit any slight wrong so that other wise men might deplore. So may all beings be well and secure, may their hearts be wholesome. Whatsoever living beings that exist, weak or strong, without exception, be happy-minded. Let no one deceive another nor despise anyone anywhere. In anger or ill will, let them not wish any harm to another. So just like a mother would guard her only child at the risk of her own life, even so towards all beings, let one cultivate boundless loving kindness. Towards the entire world, let one radiate boundless loving kindness, above, below, and across, without any obstruction, without any hatred, without any enmity. Whether one stands, walks, sits, or lies down, as long as one is awake, one should develop this mindfulness. By embracing this quality, one will be well and there will be peace. So this is the end of the poem. Thank you.
Yeah, I find that this poem actually resemblance, a good qualities in leadership is not only about managing a organization, but it also, actually brings out this humanity values, in a person, and how that applies to, to a larger societies. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that very much. Thank you.